Hey, my friends, good to see you. I hope you had a great Easter last Sunday. We did. It was a great time, and hope to talk to you about it when we're with each other in Cambria. And hopefully we'll swap some stories around that as we're listening to Bob Goff. By the way, if you haven't registered yet, hey man, get your butt in gear and make this happen. I think you're going to have a great experience. Cambria is beautiful. I know it's a bit of a hike. It's not a short trip for you, but that's also kind of the point, is we're wanting to provide a getaway for you where you can't, easily dial back in to your normal, regular life. So I know that's part of Tim's vision with that, and I think it's a good idea. So get there, and we'll have a great time together. Food's always good. The setting's gorgeous. It's beautiful, man. So get there. A couple quick things on that. One is we are launching a contest that's all about your health and getting back into a more healthy place. I come from a family of stress eaters. I'm a stress eater. I just went through my own little getting back into fitness thing, dropped 25 pounds since January to get back to where I want to be. So I have to manage this all the time, me and Oprah, just like this. So hopefully this year I'll be able to keep it off. And actually this little contest that we're doing is going to be a motivator for me. There's no way I can win the contest, so that's good news for you, because if there was, I'd win it. But I can't. But this is going to be the contest, so we're simply going to encourage you to get healthy over the next 6 months or so, starting at Cambria, ending with the GHC celebration. It's a simple contest. How much weight loss as a percentage of your total body weight have you lost? And whoever are the top 3-4 people are going to get a prize. So it's about that simple. And the rules are going to come out in Cambria, but here is one rule that I'm going to tell you, because I learned this from a contest I was in. So I was in this weight loss contest. Told you I do this periodically. A few years ago, I needed some cash to fly back to a family event in northern Michigan, which is ridiculously expensive to get to, and needed the money. So I was like, okay, well, I need to drop some pounds, and there's a chance to get some money. It was a person in my church who was organizing this thing. What they didn't do is they didn't stipulate, anything about clothing or anything that you had to wear. So the first time I went, I'm in jeans and a sweatshirt and all this, wearing my shoes and all that stuff, which easily added 6 pounds. When I checked in for the final weight, now mind you, anybody else could do the same thing too. I found the absolute lightest weight running clothes I could find. Found the lightest weight shorts I could wear, and when I went to weigh in, I stripped down to everything but that. So I learned a lesson for this contest, and this is the rule. So whatever you come to weigh in on for your first weigh-in, and it's going to be very private, it's just you and me are going to know, and I'll keep track of it, and it'll be very, very discreet. But anyway, whatever you wear on that initial weigh-in, you have to wear the exact same clothes when you do the final weigh-in at the celebration. So that's the only rule. Other than that, it's up to you to figure out the best way to do it. Tim Brown has been on a health quest himself. He can tell you his secret. I can tell you what worked for me. I have pretty good luck losing weight, so unfortunately you don't want to talk to me about how to keep the weight off, because I have no idea how to do that, but I know how to lose weight, and I can help you with that. And then one other thing is we turn our attention towards summer. At least in my church, this is a time where we assess ourselves and gauge our performance over the last 12 months. And then we use the summer months to evaluate, to retool, to get ready for the fall. That's kind of how it's worked for us, and it works pretty well. I have an idea for you to think about assessing yourself that maybe you could use for your board, for your leadership, for you personally. And it comes out of the scripture. There's this great passage the day after Palm Sunday where Jesus is coming back into Jerusalem. He's hungry, skips breakfast back at the campsite, because I think he remembered on the way back the previous night, there was this fig tree on the way back into Jerusalem. So he's probably thinking to himself, I'll just grab a fig and we'll head right in. Problem was, he didn't notice under cover of night perhaps that there weren't any figs on the tree, but he notices that, you remember, on his way in. And he sees this big leafy fig tree with no figs. And he needed a Snickers. He was grumpy. And so he curses the fig tree. Remember that? And immediately this fig tree withers up. And now it's dead, no good. And the disciples are like, dude, why didn't you pray for the thing to get fruity real fast? Then we could be eating figs, on our way to Jerusalem. But that didn't happen. And the disciples ask about what's going on here, and Jesus says, hey, I want to tell you, you'll do even greater things than curse a fig tree. You're going to be able to say to this mountain, be removed into the sea, and it will happen. You know, when I read that and taught on that a few weeks ago, that just stuck with me. And the reason it stuck with me is because there's more there than meets the eye. I'm going to give you a link to a teaching I did on this in Las Vegas for a church plant that a friend of mine got going there outside of Vegas called Sin City Church. Really cool thing going on there. You can watch the whole thing if you want. If you don't have anything better to do or have trouble sleeping, go ahead and watch that. But in short, it looks to me like we have a very brief model for assessing ourselves, and it kind of gets our wheels going. So that fig tree, that was an ancient metaphor that anybody in Israel with much reading at all would have known. That's a tip-off, because fig tree was used as a sign against, usually, for Israel for their lack of fruit bearing. And so you got here a fig tree that's not bearing fruit. We know that the target on that for Jesus is going to be the priests in Jerusalem who he's going to have a knockdown drag out with, very, very soon. So it's the priests that are in his gauge right now, but that was used biblically as a metaphor for how well are you doing in living out this faith. And what I think about when I think about those priests, who I think for the most part, even though there's certainly corruption, there's got to be a part of them that was just trying to do their very best, like us. And they're going to miss it here and there, but they're trying to do what they can. And they're messed up just like we are with their own egos, their own agenda, pride, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing I want you to think about. There are three things here in this very brief passage in Matthew. The first thing is the leafy tree was beautiful and provided shade for a lot of people. And I think the priests, playing with the metaphor, probably felt great about what they were doing that appeared to be really, really good. I mean, who doesn't want to provide a restful shade on our hot summer day for people who need it? And I think for me, the way I took that home is realizing that that's really not the point, that the point of the fig tree is to produce fruit. It made me wonder, are there things in my church and in my life that I'm really happy about because it's a big leafy tree and it looks healthy and it's doing some good? I mean, it's providing shade for people. Am I so enamored with that I'm really missing the point of the fig tree, which is to provide fruit? And so I just want to challenge you that as an assessment piece for yourself and your ministry and your board, that are there things in your church that you feel so great about and you're kind of stuck on that and so focused on that you've lost sight perhaps of the more important thing, which is to bear fruit. And the other thing with the bearing fruit is that, we're in California, right? So everybody's got a fruit tree in their backyard, it seems like. I got this guy, Lauren. Every Bible study for the last month, he's been coming in with a grocery bag full of oranges that he's picking off of his navel orange tree. You know why he keeps bringing in these navel oranges? Because there's absolutely no way he can eat them all himself. He's tried. It's not happening. So he keeps bringing them in, dozens at a time every week, because there's no way he can eat them all himself. And I think that's another thing we need to look at. The fruit that we bear, it's supposed to be way more than for ourselves. It's supposed to be enough to feed a whole lot of people. And so it raises the bar for me on what does fruitful mean? How well are we doing to provide fruit, to do something of the kingdom, good news for people well beyond our own little tiny flock? So Napa's 75,000 people strong. My church is just a couple hundred families. So what does it mean for me to be able to lead this church to provide fruit for the community at large? If I'm just doing it for a couple hundred families, we're missing it. But the final thing, which is really interesting and another way to assess ourselves, has to do with that mountain moving thing. When we just look at this casually, we see, okay, Jesus is just saying this. He's saying, hey, if you pray and you have enough faith, you're going to be able to do some amazing things. But actually, this text is different. One guy from the International Greek Commentary, he noticed a tie-in to Zechariah. Matthew's a fan of Zechariah. Lots of tie-ins between those two things, the latter half of Zechariah in particular. And this same mountain, the Mount of Olives, shows up at the end of Zechariah, chapter 14, if you want to look it up. Really interesting stuff. That context there in Zechariah is it's kind of God culminating history, and part of that sort of end-time apocalyptic view that we're seeing in this prophecy is that the enemies of Israel are going to come in, they're going to wipe out Jerusalem, and people are fleeing. The people of God are fleeing Jerusalem. So this is before God's going to bring peace. Before that, all hell's breaking loose. And the people of God are running for their lives. And as they're running out of the city of Jerusalem, they're stopped. They're dead stopped by the Mount of Olives. And so the picture that God has is, and what's being communicated through Zechariah, is God says, I'm going to stand on that mountain, and I'm going to spread my legs, and I'm going to split that mountain in half, half to the north, half to the south, so that I'm going to remove the middle of the mountain so that my people who are running for their lives can live, can be free. And so I'm thinking about that. Here's Jesus standing on the Mount of Olives, and he's saying, you can pray to remove this mountain. And I'm reading between the lines a little bit, not too generously either. I think he's saying, what are we doing to remove the obstacles from people who are running for their lives, who are desperate to find life? We know life is found in God, the author of life. So what are we doing? What is in the way? What are we doing? First, identifying what's in the way of people experiencing the full grace of God through Christ. And what are we doing to remove whatever obstacles we can that are in the way, because people are running for their lives. They're desperate to find life. They're desperate to find God. They might not even know that life is found in God yet, but are we removing the obvious things out of the way so that they can find it? And some of us, it's in our church. It's the way we're thinking about church, the way we're communicating the gospel actually becomes an obstacle. Are there things in your ministry that are obstacles to people finding God? And then beyond that, are there ways that we can remove obstacles even within our communities so that people who are running for their lives, who are desperate for life, they might not even know they're desperate for God at this point, but are there things we can remove that take God's power and prayer to pull off? Are there things we can do to make that happen? I know it's a little more than I wanted to give you. A sermonette for you. If you want to watch the whole enchilada, there's a link on this handout that I'm going to give you to help think this stuff through. But hopefully it's helpful and get you thinking. You and your boards can talk about it so that you can have a great summer, so that you can have a better fall, and we can all reach more people for Christ together. Thanks for viewing. I will see you at Cambria, and we'll get in shape together. Thanks, men and women. We'll see you later. Bye.